So we're going to talk about the pros and cons of the Ovation of the Seas. This is our first cruise on Royal Caribbean. We were very excited to get on this cruise. Our only other cruise has been on Norwegian Cruise Lines. So we were excited to be able to compare what the ship was like, what the food was like, and what the overall trip was like on Royal Caribbean versus NCL. In this video, we're not going to talk too much about the actual cruise. We just want to talk about the ship and the amenities that we used while we were on this cruise. This is our last day and we're just getting ready to go. We're packing up right now and actually getting ready to go to our last dinner. I'm going to start off with the pros of the Ovation of the Seas. Now, our top thing probably was our room. We ended up doing the Royal Up bid process for an upgrade, and we ended up getting a window instead of just having an interior cabin. So we were excited about that. The room is actually very nice. It seems pretty recently renovated, so everything is fairly new. It's pretty clean as well. The one downside to our room is that it is in the very front on the 8th level, and we did feel the seas a lot. So while we did get a better room, we ended up being a little bit uncomfortable with how much we felt the waves in our room. On this trip, we went from Sydney to New Zealand, and the seas were really rough compared to our trip in the Mediterranean, so that's just something to be aware of. Another pro is the staff and the service on the ship. We never had any problems with the staff or the service. Our room got cleaned every day that we wanted it to, and it was done quickly. At whatever restaurant we were eating at, the service was fast. We were always offered drinks whenever we sat down. Basically, whatever you wanted was taken care of by the staff, and they did their job great. And overall, the boat is really nice. The boat is really big. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of different places you can hang out on the boat, and everything's really nice and really new, just like the rooms are. Okay, so with the food, there's going to be pros and cons within the food. We did not eat at any of the paid restaurants, which I'll talk about in a minute. But starting off, our favorite place to go for breakfast was the solarium. The solarium is the adults only area, which isn't super strict, but it's the adults only area, and it's kind of like a mini version of the Windjammer, which is the buffet. So you have a small buffet that is geared towards adults, and just a lot less people go there. We ended up going there a lot just because the Windjammer is crazy all the time. It's really hard to find spots to sit down in the Windjammer unless you walk around the entire place and hurry and grab a spot. You gotta fight somebody for that spot. So the solarium, even when it was really busy, like you'll probably see on this video, we were able to find a spot really easy. You do have just buffet food there, so you don't have any formal sit down, take your order kind of stuff like you do in main dining, but it's faster as well. And for us, breakfast is about being fast, so that was always the best option. The other pro on food was the main dining. So one difference between Norwegian and Royal Caribbean, it seemed like they had different food basically every day. So the menu was different every day. I saw very little repeats on menu items, except for things that they kept as staples that are the Royal Caribbean specials, I guess, which are like steak or chicken or like the certain salads that you want. And overall, the main dining food is pretty good. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but versus just going to the buffet, we thought that the food in the main dining hall was really good. It's a 3-course meal every time, and it feels a little bit more formal, and you get the best food you can on the ship. Now, the downside to the food on the Ovation is that there aren't that many places that are included. You learn that pretty quick. Once you've been to the Windjammer, solarium, and main dining, the only places you really have left are the pizza place, I believe it's called Sorrento's, and then you have a small cafe where you can basically get just the normal drinks and some snacks. Everything in that cafe you can also just get at the buffet, so it really is just another location where you can go to. Really, the only different place you can go is the pizza place. If you want to have something different, you have to do the paid dining locations. We didn't do this just because we're cheap and we thought we've already paid for all of our food. We might as well just see what we can get with what we paid for. The one time we did go to a paid area was at the pub, and we ended up getting some fried pickles. This was just like a side. And this is one other thing about Ovation is that, you know, like a fried pickle, you expect it a certain way, just batter over fries, but they have like weird spices on certain things. And we're really not picky people. It's just, it seems like they add things to certain food that just don't match well together. Like make things really sweet, put sweet bread with like a hot dog. The other place that's also included is the hot dog location. You got a few different choices of hot dogs with just a couple different add-ons you can put on. We did go there and it was okay. But yeah, the food in general just seems like it looks really good, and you try it and it just is like a little bit off. It seems like they put like a flavor in there that shouldn't be there. And a lot of it was very bland. It seemed like they were trying to play it safe, but then some things they just had totally off. Another thing that was odd that they were missing was ranch dressing, which I think is an American thing mostly, but the versions of ranch that they did have just tasted off. And all of the dressings had like a gooey texture to them. The best I can explain it is almost like Elmer's glue. It was like a glue consistency, and it wasn't creamy. It was like an artificial creamy. So these are just small nitpicks on the actual food itself. I'm just trying to let you know, like the buffet food was this way, and the main dining was definitely a step up. So we tried to go to the main dining as much as possible. It seems like a lot of people like the buffet food, but for me, it all starts to taste the same eventually. It really just isn't that good. The service you get from the staff is great, and the staff has nothing to do with the food, so I really don't blame them. They're just preparing the food that Royal Caribbean sets up for them. Okay, the next thing is the number of people on this ship. So I think this ship can fit something like 4,400 people maxed out, plus the staff, and you definitely felt that. Even though this is a huge ship, and it's double the size of the gem class of NCL that we went on, it fits double the amount of people. It came as a shock to us just how many people were on this boat. Because of that, it took forever to get off the boat. Now, I don't mean it took hours, but there was a couple days it took a good 45 minutes for us to get off the boat. And even one time when I think we were close to an hour and a half to actually get where we were going, just going into port. They have the security set up really weird, where it seems like almost everybody funnels directly into the same point, and the line wraps upstairs, downstairs. It wraps through the main promenade, the store area, and then it goes downstairs to the casino, and then you finally go outside. And there's only 2 scanners for all these people. And same deal coming back, they send you to one area. For some reason, they have 2 walkways. I think one's for staff and one's for guests, and it gets backed up big time going through the security area. They have to have had enough cruises with this many people, and they've seen the backups. They have to figure out some other way to get this many people on and off the boat. There's just too much of a wait, especially when you go on like a cruise that's half the size. I felt like there was even more security checkpoints. There was even more exit areas on the smaller boat than there was for this 4,000 person cruise. And going back a little bit to the paid dining and the paid food on the ship, it seems like Royal Caribbean is really trying to nickel and dime you on everything. A lot of the things that you think, oh, I'm going to try that on the ship, you get on here and it's either sold out really quickly for the free slots, like the North Star, the Flow Rider, and the skydiving experience. They only have a few short times where you can do this for free, and it's always during a port day. They do it so it's like you either stay on the boat and do it, or you go into port, which for us, we're always going to go into port to see what's going on. And just every little thing, it costs extra. So if you want to just get on this cruise and just pay what you think you paid, Royal Caribbean is definitely going to cost you more money. And if you get sick of the food, you got to pay more. If you want to watch a movie in your room, you got to pay more. There's just so many things that they get you with. This one was kind of our fault and why it's a con, but I still think it's a con. On our sea days, we like to find a quiet place to read or relax. On Ovation, it seems like there is a lack of areas like this. We did end up finding the library on the last day, but the library is situated in a place where there's always performances going on, and they're always setting up for some sort of event. There's loud music playing, so even in that spot that's supposed to be quiet, you really can't just sit and enjoy yourself. The only places we were able to really sit down and do this were bars that nobody was at. Even when this was happening, it's like they're bugging us every 5 seconds if we want to drink. So it's not really set up for people just chilling. You basically got to go to the pool pool and hang out there. You're always going to be surrounded by people and noise. It's just how it is on the ship. The last thing on this boat was the weird lack of announcements and information from the crew. Especially, I don't even know if we heard really from the cruise director or if it was always the captain, but anytime that there was any sort of announcement, it was always in the hallway, and it didn't come through even on the TV in our room. So I'd have to get up, go open the door, and listen outside. And I even noticed in some of the eating places that it wasn't playing in there, it was just playing in the hallways. So it was really hard to hear what was going on. I was in a Facebook group for this cruise, and a lot of times they would post, somebody would hear it and post afterwards what was going on. So that was the only way I would hear what they were saying. And this even came down to us changing ports, us having delays when they wanted us to get on and off the boat. All those announcements, we didn't get them in our room, and there was no way to really find out what was said unless you asked somebody that heard. When we were on Norwegian, they always played it on the TV in the room, and it seemed like the information was readily available everywhere. Whereas here, I feel like we really had to ask or search around for information to find out what's going on. Overall, we had a lot of fun on this cruise, but it definitely surprised me how much I didn't like being on Ovation of the Seas. I think I would prefer a smaller ship better. Now, that's granted that we're not big into cruising. This is only our second one. So this is just our opinion on taking a Royal Caribbean cruise for the first time. And maybe when we take another one in the future, we'll think of it differently. But for now, I think we're going to stick to smaller boats and maybe stick to Norwegian for our future cruises.